Permítanme invitar a nuestros tres primeros ponentes, por favor, a que nos acompañen. Los señores Joong Kim, Joan Calzada y Hugo Lucas, por favor. Señor Joong Kim, de Corea. Señor Joan Calzada es de Cataluña y Hugo Lucas de España. Adelante. Señor Kim, Joong Kim va a tener la primera exposición. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. El doctor Joong Kim es investigador senior y vicepresidente del Instituto de Economía Energética de Corea. Desde el año 1993 trabaja en esta institución en cuestiones políticas de la industria de gas natural de Corea, incluyendo reforma política en el mercado de gas natural y combustibles opcionales para zonas no atendidas con gas natural. Anteriormente, ocupó un lugar en el Centro de Investigación de Energía de Asia-Pacífico, en Tokio, Japón, creada bajo el auspicio de APEC, como líder de equipo supervisor de proyectos de gas. Antes de formar parte de APEC, fue jefe de la División Política de Gas Natural del Instituto de Economía Energética de Corea, encargándose de temas regulatorios del sector de gas natural de Corea. El doctor Joong Kim nos va a presentar la ponencia La energía global, problemática actual y proyecciones de Corea.
안녕하세요. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joong Kim, as introduced, and working in the Korea Energy Economics Institute. Before I proceed, let me thank you for the Investment Administration for inviting me at this important and honorable opportunity. Korea Energy Economics Institute is a government-affiliated organization, which means it is funded by the government. And we are currently about 60% of the budget is coming from the government. The government is actually most fund is coming from the Prime Minister's office, but part of it is coming from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy. So the KEI is focusing on the energy and climate change policy issues. And I've been working here about 20 years or so. Today, my presentation title is Global Energy Problems and Counter Policies and Measures of Korea, which is rather tough topic, but I'll introduce the Korean countermeasures and share policy ideas, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a best practice. It is only a Korean way of responding to the energy situation. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so the topics today I'm going to talk about is basically three. The first one is rather familiar one to you. No doubt the global energy issue number one is the low oil price. And the second one, the post-2020 and the global greenhouse gas emissions reduction efforts. And the third one is the, by and large, 5 counter policies and measures of Korea. And I will conclude a few remarks. Okay. So the first topic is global energy issue, the low oil price and its effects. Actually, I'm not going to dwell on this issue much because probably you are more have more knowledge than me. So I'll briefly go on this. For the past 1 year or so, the oil supply, world oil supply growth surpasses demand growth. And as you see in the two graphs, there is a big gap from supply to demand. And this is the number one cause of the current low oil price. And it is still staying at a very low level. And there are many possible reasons, and they are actually work together. And the number one is the U.S. shale revolution, and the other is non-OPEC countries' production increase. And also it is combined with the stable production from the OPEC countries. So there's kind of maybe we can call it a price war between OPEC and non-OPEC, but there are many issues still entangled with that. And also there are some oil recovery in other countries. And on the demand side, the Chinese economy and the European economy are sluggish. And including China, the economic growth is moving slower than expected in the past. So IHS says for the past 1 year, supply growth is about 2 million barrels per day, but demand growth is only about 1 million barrels per day. So that is accumulated, and the low oil prices persist now. And then what about oil supply excess? Now the total U.S. oil supply turns to a downward trend, but still the demand side is not growing fast, in fact. But still, the trend is not so fast, but actually for the past 1 year or so, the oil demand growth is rather fast. So you can see in the left-hand side, right-hand side, the oil demand growth is quite high and very fast. But in the left-hand side graph, you can see that the total U.S. oil supply trend and forecast. So now the picture says in the year 2013, it was growing, and in 2014 it was growing also, and this year it grew a little, but it turns down to a downward trend, and it is forecasted by the EIA that it will stay above the level of production at the end of the year. So then what will the oil price in the next year? We don't know, but these two graphs show that world oil price outlook becomes more and more pessimistic. I mean pessimistic to the producer. The left-hand side means that in January this year, IHS Syrup forecasted the WTI price will be about $59 per barrel or so, and the Brent oil price will be about 63 in 26. But the forecast changes as time passes by. So recently their forecast changed a lot to a very low level. On the right-hand side, the U.S. DOE EIA also shows this similar pattern. Their forecast changes continually downward. So the point is that the next year oil price will not be very high. And there's another example of Goldman Sachs outlook. It shows a very big difference between two forecast times. Then what is behind this forecast, pessimistic forecast? There basically are about two or 3 points. The global oil demand, as I said, is growing at a gradually slower rate, right? And also, but the oil production is increasing, and the non-OPEC countries are still producing. They did not decrease their production. In addition, Iraq and Iran also joined the oil supply. So many people think that the supply-demand gap, the oversupply, may not be reduced in a rather shorter time period. Then the reason why we are here is that what we are going to do about this situation. This low oil price impacts a lot on the oil producers, upstream developers. As you see in the left-hand side, the IOCs actually increased their production this year, but their net profit in the upstream decreased very much. So it is a very tough situation to them. In the right-hand side table, you can see that two different numbers and decrease rate. This is a comparison between two periods, the second quarter of 2014 and second quarter of 2015. As you see, there's a big difference, a big decrease in the capital expenditure. So overall, the IOCs reduced capital expenditure over 15%. So if what we are concerned about is that if this trend continues, what will be the future in the oil market? But now I'm talking about the response issue. So, and we are concerned about boom and burst issue, particularly in the LNG business, because I've been working on the natural gas sector, so the boom and burst may come again. So that is one point of concern. Now, let me talk about strategies to tackle this lower price situation. The developers, as you know, delayed high-cost projects like oil sand and deep water projects and LNG development. It is approximately $220 billion in accumulation, and they seek to reduce costs, and they are working on the efficiency improvement in the short term. But they will probably turn to a structural change strategy in the longer term. In the lower right-hand side, you can see that some numbers. This is quoted from the economic report, Oil and Gas UK. The report says that in the short term, say 3 to 9 months period, the firms respond to a lower price situation by cost reduction. Actually, it is a move, as we learned in the economic principles text, that they try to reduce the variable cost, right? So they, by doing so, they kind of answered in a questionnaire that 10 to 15% cost reduction was achieved. But as the time span gets longer, say the situation grows longer, and then 5 to 18 months period, the firm respond by efficiency improvement and the activity reduction, consolidation, and kind of thing. These are the midterm response measures. But as time span for the lower oil price situation gets longer, naturally and inescapably, their strategy becomes a longer-term one, say transformation change or structural change issue. So they sell and buy their assets, and they reduce personnel, and then in short, the structural changes strategies are coming in. So these are the general response strategies to the large scale or in general the upstream companies. Then this low oil price situations impact to Korea. What is it? I'll talk about this. In the past, say you can see a table below. That table shows a comparison between two 14-year periods. The first one is from 1988 to 2002, and the other is in the middle row. The period is between 2001 to 2014, and for a 10% drop in oil price by supply side causes alone, the economic impact on GDP growth rate and income growth rate of Korea would be about 0.2 percentage point and 0.3 percentage point, respectively, for the past 14 years since 2001. These figures were rather big in the previous period. The GDP growth rate impact was about 0.31%, and the income growth rate impact was about 0.8%. This means that the Korea has become less oil-dependent economy. So the impact, the positive or negative impact on Korea of low oil price has become smaller. And then we go to a more specific industry. A 10% drop in oil price lowers production cost of industry as a whole by a 0.67%. This can be compared with the Japanese case of 0.34% and 0.6% of China. This means that the industrial sector of Korea is getting a bigger positive effect from an oil price drop. Or on the other way around, if oil price goes up, the negative impact on Korea could be bigger than Japan and China. So as we get less sensitive to oil price change, but still it is big compared to China and Japan. Let me talk about some figures of this story. The KDI, the Korea Development Institute, like a government-affiliated institute in Korea, and the KEI studied that the impacts of oil price, and the manufacturing sector as a whole, the cost down effect is a 1.04%. In that, the oil products gets the biggest chunk, gets 7.9%, and the petrochemical industry gets a little smaller one, but still big, over 2%. The service sector gets a 0.28%. So that Korea is, as I said, is getting some good thing from lower price. But the Korea actually Korea is depending very much on exporting goods and services, and particularly the exporting means the goods are manufactured. So in the export side, the 10% drop of oil price gives us about 0.55% of increase in exports. It is very good, but it is only a past story. This year, the first half of this year, the major exporting industries like steel, petrochemical, car manufacturing, and petrochemical goods, they showed a very big reduction. So it is a very big concern to Korean economy, which is dependent on export sector. So that gives us a very big homework, and we need to a business realignment and kind of structural reforms to cope with the challenges against industrial competitiveness. So up to here, I talked about the oil price and the Korean economy is concerned. Now I'm going forward to the second issue, the post-2020 and GHG emission reduction efforts. Climate change is a big problem, as you know, and in terms of money and lives, there are a big loss from climate change. And the IPCC reported that the human influence on climate change, climate system is clear. And if the current emissions trend persists, by the year 2100, the sea level will rise 63 centimeters, which is a catastrophe to the globe. So the Kyoto scheme has changed it, and in the coming December in Paris, the parties will get together and talk about new climate change regime. And according to this, Korea submitted its INDC pledge. The INDC, as you know, INDC stands for Intended Nationally Determined Contributions. In the past, Korea is kind of categorized as a developing country, so we kind of were a beneficiary of the Kyoto mechanism. But now we are forced to cope with and actually actively participate in the reduction efforts. So that is another big task for Korea. And now, so in the last September, we submitted a more advanced GHG emissions reduction target for post-2020. I mean a more advanced by the fact that in the year 2008, the Korean government announced a 13% reduction from 2020 BAU. Now the new pledge is that the Korea will reduce 37% from 2030 BAU, which is a very tough task to Korea. And out of 37% reduction, about 26% will be procured from domestically, and the other will be from the global carbon market. We plotted that the trend and the target of Korea and other countries, and Korea's target is seen as the toughest one. So that domestically, most Koreans are concerned about hitting the target in the required time frame. And the important part or tough part of this pledge is that the power generation sector's share increases more and faster. The main reason for that is power demand grows rather fast, and also in that for that power demand, more coal-fired plants are generating power. So that is the main cause of a fast increase of greenhouse gases. So it's not just because of the low oil price, but because of the changing climate change regime. Korea has a big task to perform, and yeah. So now, let me briefly introduce some counter policies and measures of Korea customized ones. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't show you this picture. I'm sorry. This the pie chart shows that the growing share of power sector in the greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so let me go on. So now the challenges and also the low oil price situation gets some benefits, as I said. So Korea's major these days, Korea's major industries facing low growth. Actually, last year and this year, we revised again and again to a lower level. We revised the economic growth rate. So that is a real top part. So we need to develop a kind of growth engine. In the past, we also used the term the growth engine, but we need a serious one this time. And also, there's kind of another change of opportunities. As I said, the low oil production, low cost, low oil price gives us some capability, some room to invest. So we can use that efficiently. And the greenhouse gas emissions goal, we need to transform to a low carbon, high efficiency energy system. So Korea has to take the current changing environment, say the low oil price, stricter response to climate change, as an opportunity to become an energy powerhouse. So there are basically 5 categories of counter policies and measures of Korea today. The first one is to nurture an energy-related new industry. It's a kind of the term energy-related new industry is actually is not a term very clearly defined actually in Korea itself. The second one is to act on the 7th basic plan for power supply and demand. The third one is to induce more investment in new and renewable energy sector. And the fourth is to take low oil price as opportunity for enhancing energy security, because Korea is 96% dependent on energy abroad, imported energy sources. And the last one is to enact a trustworthy safety-first nuclear policy. The first one, the energy-related new industries. The base concept, as I said, it doesn't have a clear-cut definition, but some say it is only a business model. But if we consider that an industry is a group of businesses or a group of firms, then we may call it an industry. So the base concept of the energy-related new industry is an industry that creates new markets for energy efficiency improvements and reduce GHG emissions, creating a new growth engine by innovating the way that energy is produced and consumed, and by introducing new business models through convergence between existing energy industries and ICT, which Korea has a relative advantage, and the manufacturing and financial sectors. And the Korean government has chosen business models to cultivate the new industry. The following 8 energy-related industries are chosen. The first one is a demand resource market. The second one is energy storage system integrated service system. And the second one is energy storage system integrated service. And the third one is energy independent island. The fourth is electric vehicle charging service. The fifth is wasted thermal effluent of power plant, to be categorized as in renewable energy. And the sixth is photovoltaic facility equipment lease. The seventh is zero energy building. And the eighth, eco-friendly energy town. And the first one is, let me go on one by one. The first one is the demand resource market. This you can guess what this means. The market pursues to trade electric savings from buildings and plants in the demand resource exchange market. Currently, the Korea Electric Power Corporation, the state-owned company, is the sole buyer of the produced power, and the company sells the power to all consumers. It's a very restricted and high entry barrier market. But now the market will be changed, and so if the consumers save some power, then they can sell it to KEPCO, and KEPCO will pay in turn to the consumers for that savings. And the second one is the energy storage system integrated service. So now in Korea, we would like to use the energy storage to say regulating frequency. So we have developed a 200 megawatt energy storage system, and actually it is proven that the energy storage works very well for frequency regulation. And the third one is the energy independent islands. The concept is to substitute the diesel generator with renewable energies and energy storage system in islands. Now, one pilot project is undertaken in Ulleungdo Island, which is a big one in the East Sea of Korea, and it will be completed in the year 2017. And finally, the energy storage system and the replacement of diesel power plants will be done. So in that completion period, the composition of the diesel and renewable energy power generation will be totally the opposite to the current composition. The electric vehicle charging service is very familiar to you, so I'll skip. And the fifth one, the utilization of wasted thermal effluent from power plants. It is it was controversial in Korea whether we can categorize the thermal energy and the wasted effluent water from power plants as a new or renewable energy. But the government decided to categorize it in the renewable energy, and it is going to be used in the farmland nearby, and also it can be utilized in the agricultural laboratory and so on, and they can work for the improving the environment. And the photovoltaic facilities, it is also it is a tool to generate revenue by leasing photovoltaic equipment and facilities to households and receiving lease payments. And there are some mandatory renewable energy suppliers. If they run short of the entitlement, then they can buy some rights from the lease service provider, and the lease service provider is selected by the Korea Energy Agency, which is a policy implementing body of the government MOTI, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Energy. And zero energy building, it is familiar to you, so I'll skip it. And the eco-friendly, the last one is the eco-friendly energy town. It is to promote a clean towns by promoting residents' participation in the renewable energy generation from incineration plants and landfill sites. So now I'll run. Yeah, what is the future plans for this new industry? The Korean government is to increase investment by initiating financial support to promote private sector investment, developing locally customized energy-related business models, and to export energy-related new business models by utilizing Green Climate Fund, and to enact a special law on energy-related new industry to lay an institutional foundation to nurture the industries. Now, the Korean government and the Korea Energy Economics Institute work together to draft a special law. So, actually, the Korea's energy market is rather heavily regulated one. So, many people, including myself, are concerned about the smooth working of the new industry, but that the Korean government may use or employ that chance to detour the way toward a more liberalized market. And the second direction is a self-based plan for power supply demand. We established the basic plan every 2 years, and the current one, the seventh one, time span is up to the year 2029. And in this plan, we increased a lot on the reserve margin, and we plan to cut the peak demand a lot, more than 12%, and the power consumption itself is to be reduced by 14%. But it is only a plan, and so the market will work differently if the environmental conditions are not met. And the third direction, the third measure is that the enhancing renewables investment. In order for the energy efficiency and the renewable energy market to grow, the investment should be enough, particularly from the private sector. The government activity is, in every way, limited one. So our government cannot do everything. So the private investment is an important part. And the fourth one is to employ the low oil price situation to increase the national energy security. So currently, the energy imports amount is about 1/3 of total imports. So huge money is going out for importing energy. So that is a big disadvantage for Korea's economy. So we will utilize this low oil price situation to strengthen and at a little cheaper price. And the last one is to establish safety first nuclear power. There's a big controversy in Korea about the nuclear safety. So they are working on some law enactment of a trustworthy nuclear power. So now I'm finishing with a few remarks. The policy environment and the policy measures may not be much different between my country and your countries in face of the same world situation, right? And the Korea's policy measures are customized one, as I said, and there's a long way to go for Korea, and this is not necessarily best practice. The market structure is very state-owned company led, and they are heavy-handed regulation. We may be at some level in terms of technology, but at the high tech, we are still behind or the highest level. So we need to work on that front. And also, there's some culture. So the Korean people are customized to a government-led industry organization. So it is a big constraint to Korean policy area. And policy goals are many, and some are conflicting to each other. So we have to resolve many issues. And that the opportunities for mutual benefit between Peru and Korea and other countries from cooperation for developing policy and technology and sharing experiences and information and promoting business in energy efficiency and green energy area. I think there are many of these kinds. And particularly, Korea is rather at the high level in terms of a ICT technology. So we are focusing on the combining ICT and existing industry. So particularly in this area, there could be more chances to work together. So this is my presentation today, and thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Please take a seat. Muchas gracias, doctor Kim. Tenemos algunas preguntas que van en el mismo sentido. Las puedo resumir en dos preguntas básicas para hacerle al doctor Joong Kim. La primera, según sus estimaciones, ¿hasta cuándo estará bajo el precio del petróleo? It's okay. It's okay.
I already said it is a very tough question, we KI also forecast from our own model, but for long-term price level is tough, actually, frankly, and for the next year, the KI's forecast is about $48 per barrel. And frankly, I cannot tell when it will end.
Your forecast es su pronóstico. Y de eso se desprenden otras preguntas que son lógicas. ¿Cómo afecta este precio bajo a otras fuentes de energía? Si este precio bajo el petróleo, por ejemplo, afecta el desarrollo de energías renovables.
It is agreed that the NRE development is tough in the situation of lower price. it is correct. But in Korea, the renewable energy industry is cultivated by the government policy. So regardless of price level, oil price level, the government is pushing hard to renewable energy industry to grow. So it is rather apart from the low oil price level. It is politically cultivated. Yeah.
Bien, muchísimas gracias. Kansamnida. Gracias por su participación. Despedimos al doctor Joong Kim con un gran aplauso por su ponencia.